Welcome back, everybody. I thank y'all for coming on time. Oh, this is great. This is number 3. After tonight, we'll be halfway done. So, like last time, we'll give it about another 4 minutes before we kick off things, just to give people time to gather and get settled in. So, if you still need to run to the restroom real quick or grab you a little snack, I know it's evening, so some of y'all might be eating. That's totally fine. Don't mind if you're munching on your dinner. So go right ahead. And I'll have my tea next to me. I've been talking all day, so I got some hot tea just so I can make sure my voice will hold up for this session tonight. So good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us. We're going to give it about another 3 minutes before we get started, just giving people time to get settled into the session. So thank you all again for attending session 3. And yeah, we'll give it a couple more minutes here before we get started.
Jasper, I'm going to say a couple of words real quick before you get started in 1 minute. Just wanted to say hi, everybody. Also, my name is Charla Montgomery. I am the program consultant for OCUR. And we are, once again, fabulously happy to have our host and instructor for the evening, Jasper Smith, author and educator. He's author of the Build Wealth Challenge. I have a copy of this book myself, and I have read it through and am currently practicing everything that I've learned so far. And I think, I think Jasper's really happy because this is my second year practicing, and I'm actually making some headway. So I wanted to throw that little testimonial in too really quickly. But without further ado, here's Jasper, and enjoy this wonderful segment. This topic you definitely didn't want to miss, and I want to thank you again for coming.
Thank you, Charla, and again, thank you all for joining us for, I'll call it session number 3. So after tonight, we'll be halfway through. So tonight I'll be wearing the credit counselor hat, the credit guy. That's the topic for tonight. Before we even hop in, just so you all know, there's a lot of bad information that's constantly shared about credit. And over the my time in the industry, just, I mean, people believe most of the things they've heard and have never really like checked with a credible source to validate the claims. And I've heard just a ton. And so hopefully tonight I can debunk some of those myths that you may have heard or have come across, or maybe you still believe in them. And so what I'll preface some of my remarks with is by saying credit isn't a perfect system. Like, it's far from perfect. If you find yourself asking too many why questions, you're going too deep. Because there are some questions that we'll never get the answer to, and that's how the system was designed. So if you all can just remember that as we go through tonight's session on credit, I definitely appreciate you and your willingness to just flow with me. I'll explain things. I'll answer them to the best of my ability when you have questions. Just like last session, we have some great interaction in the chat. So we like to keep this interactive. So if you want to leverage the chat, if you want to come off mute and say a few words, we'll have more than enough time to have plenty of conversations, get through the material, field your questions. So don't feel like you have to wait until the end. And also, if this is your first time joining me in the group, I'm Jasper Smith, founder of the Build Wealth Movement. I'm a financial planner, advisor, educator, counselor, coach. I'm the money guy. And I am happy to be partnering with Occur again this year to do this series, because we know there's so much that people need from a financial planning perspective. And so over the course of these 6 sessions, we're focused on kind of breaking down each topic. So giving each night its own attention, because with financial planning, we tend to kind of hop around, but we never really get good traction on one thing. And so shining a light on each individual topic can allow all of us to focus. And maybe that's the one part of your plan you need to work on. And so maybe tonight's your session, or perhaps you might consider joining us for some of the other sessions next, I'll say Thursday and next Tuesday and Thursday of next week. So with that, actually, before I hop into my deck, like as always, we've started each session with a poll question. So I wanted to ask Simone if you had that poll already teed up. Perfect. So take a minute or so if everybody can just honestly be honest about this, but just want to kind of know who I'm talking to and the status of our credit, because that's what we're going to be talking about tonight. So just take a moment here to give everybody a little bit of time here to answer the poll question. And keep in mind, these are anonymous surveys, so you can be honest. Your secret is safe, but we like to be honest. Where are you? And if you don't know, I have that option as well, where I don't know, and that's okay. Right. So I think we've got just about everybody's plight chimed in. We'll give it about another 20 seconds or so, and I'll go ahead and end the poll. So I got a good sense of where we are. Looks like the majority of folks are kind of in that fair category from 650 to 7. So that's good. I like to see that. Got a few in the excellent. Okay, good there. Got a few who aren't sure. That's fine. Like I said, that's totally fine. And even the folks who responded that their credit is bad, in that bad category, got a few things that I'll share tonight that can assist you with improving your score. So I do have some time devoted to that portion of helping folks out with their current status. So I'll go ahead and we'll go ahead and end this poll here. Right. So thank you all for doing that. I just want to get a sense of who's in the audience. So I appreciate you for that. And then give me a moment here. I'm gonna hop over into my presentation and we'll get the show on the road. So give me a moment here. Okay. I think we're all set here. All right, cool. All right. So as always, I want to start off with my goal for this session. And that is to change the way you think and feel about money in order for you to achieve financial peace of mind. So just like every other session we've had, I try my best to change the way you think about some of these things, because sometimes the way we think is causing us to maybe take action or to not take certain actions. And then I also know there are a lot of emotions that come with us trying to deal with some of our financial struggles. Is just the emotions that are attached to it. And so I always try my best to change what you think, and maybe you can undress or unpack some of these emotions, because that's what's going to help us move forward. And so credit is a big one that continues to just drag people down. I think it's partly because of maybe how we were introduced to credit. I've heard a lot of stories around how people started their credit journey, and for a lot of us, it wasn't a positive thing. So I hope that I can change the way you think and feel tonight's session, about credit, just so you can kind of move forward. If your score is not where you want it to be, well, let's work on it. Let's see what we can do. There are a lot of things that are possible. And again, as I was saying when we first hopped on tonight, a lot of stuff that I don't have answers to. I wish I did, but our credit system is just one of those where if you know how it works, you can use all this stuff to your advantage, and we can take out some of the emotions when we're dealing with credit related matters. So we'll start off with this. So having good credit is important. And it's important because this is how people look at you when they see you have bad credit. And the reason credit is so important is because either the score or your report allows somebody to make a decision about your character, your level of trustworthiness, your level of responsibility, and you're not there to defend yourself. And so I know we think that, and I've heard this, well, I don't think, people have told me this, well, I don't have credit, I'm gonna live and just deal with cash. Good luck with that. Because in this life, in this world, in this country, credit is how this world operates. It's literally how this world operates. And so for us to not have a good relationship with our credit, we tend to put ourselves in positions that could have been avoided. And maybe if you're not where you want to be with your credit, maybe there are just a few small things you have to do in order to get you to a higher score, but it takes time. And so when I talk to people about credit, you got to give yourself some time. It doesn't just happen overnight that you wake up and your scores are in the 800s. It just doesn't happen. It takes time. And the game has set it out to where it needs to see you doing enough things in a positive manner to produce that better score. And so again, no matter where you are, just know that it can improve. And I would also say, if you didn't know this, there are employers that will not hire you because of your credit. We all are aware of maybe a landlord might not gift you the place because of your credit. Because if I'm a landlord and you're behind or late on bills, what's to say you won't pay me on time? With employment, I didn't think about this, but they use it as a kind of a measure of your character and level of trustworthiness. Because if I'm the business owner and I'm looking at your credit report, maybe I have it look kind of like Cat Williams has, like, look at this report. As great as an interview as you might have had, looking at this report for you or your score could indicate this person may be not as great as I think they are, but maybe they interview quite well. Because if I'm in business and I'm dealing with, transactions and keeping records and doing things in a timely manner, your credit report may show you're always late on payments. I mean, are you going to be late with doing assignments at the job? Are you going to be late coming to work? And so it's a lot bigger than what we may think. And so I know there are a lot of comedians who joke about certain communities have bad credit. And the jokes just aren't funny anymore, because it's literally everybody laughing at us, laughing at the people who don't have good credit. And so I want to encourage all of you that when you hear somebody talking about, I got my bad credit and it's, there's no hope, share some of the stuff you're going to learn tonight with them and let them know that I need you to work on it. Like, seriously, having good credit makes a lot of difference, and it just allows you to lead a different life, because what I've experienced from people is we're very reactive when it comes to credit. So it's always after the fact that we're finding something out, meaning we're applying for a loan or a credit card, and if we get declined or we don't get the most favorable rate, they then tell you, oh, this is what we found. And I just think we need to get ahead of that. Like, we got to be in front of this report before we're going into some situation. So hopefully that makes sense to everybody, but we have just got to be way more proactive when it comes to our credit. And so what is it? Fundamental definitions: the ability of customer to obtain goods and services before payment based on trust. I probably should underline the word trust. Trust that the payment will be made in the future. That's it. If you need a shorter definition, you can use the letters O, P as in Paul, M as in Mary. OPM, or other people's money. You're using somebody else's money to get something you need in the hopes that you're going to pay them back. That's all it is. That's all that it is. If you use it the right way, use it to your advantage, you can get a lot of things in this life, but you got to manage it effectively. That's the key when dealing with credit. All right, so hopefully this isn't a surprise to anybody, but if so, just so you're aware, there are 3 credit bureaus that hold a lot of power, like a lot: TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian. And people may tell you that one company's report is more important than the others, and one organization's score is more important. I disagree with all of that. All 3 are equally important in my book. Now, there may be somebody on here who is familiar or currently using Credit Karma. I know that Credit Karma only uses TransUnion, and they only use TransUnion and Equifax. And so you're missing that third piece of the puzzle. And what I find is that when people are working on their credit, if they're using like a Credit Karma or some other resource to kind of help provide updates, they get this kind of false sense that they got everything figured out and everything's in good order. But then we're missing that Experian report. So we got 2 out of 3, which is good. But there could be something looming on that third report. That's what scares me about some of these apps or organizations that can offer you one bureau's credit report, because you just need all 3 pieces of the puzzle. So again, hopefully this wasn't brand new to you in terms of information, but all 3 of these bureaus are important. All 3. All right. So let's keep the party going. Oh wait, I was gonna say one more thing about these credit. Now I'll come back to that later. All right. So the higher the score, the better. I just want to make sure I check the chat. Yeah. Experience 1. The other 2 might also take you out as well. And then Charlie, I see you got your hand. Charlie, you had a question you want to chime in?
Yeah, I wanted to know, why are there differences in how they rate somebody? Like, there's at least a few points between all 3 of them that are different, plus or minus, just depends. But why is that?
Great question. So Charla wins the prize for tonight for asking the very first question. As I said, when you're trying to figure out why, I don't know, couldn't tell you. But here's what I know. So Charla, thank you for falling into my trap. What I was going to bring up, which you just brought it up, was let me go back one slide. So imagine this. Imagine that I ask everybody on this session to bake an apple pie. I'm gonna get a whole bunch of different pies. Like, same pie, same result, right? There's a pie that I want everybody to make me, but somebody's gonna do a little something different with their mixture. Somebody's gonna have a little bit more one ingredient versus another. And so when we break down all 3, they all compute your score differently. I don't know why, but I know this. I know that you will never see your score be equal at any of the three. I know that you may see some scores that are just totally not even close. Like I've seen, 2 out of 3 will be within like a 10 or 20 point, range. And then the third one will be like 40 or 50 points off. And you're like, how is this even possible? But everybody's got a different recipe on how they compute your score. And that is one of those, we will never find out why. But thank you, Charlie, for asking that question. Did you have another one, Charlie, you want to throw in there?
No, I'm scared now.
Okay.
No, that is a fact.
Nah, but Charlie, I appreciate you, because that was the thing. I was like, I'll wait, because I know somebody's going to ask, like, why is it always different? I don't know. I wish I could tell y'all. Let me say this too. So the credit score wasn't always this like very, very important measuring stick. So the very first score was, I want to say it was Equifax. It was really around home ownership. It was a piece to help them to decipher, like, who are we going to give these loans to? And then all of a sudden it kind of just ballooned into this bigger thing. And I'm like, it has such a major impact on our lives. Like, the world is making an assessment about you and you're not there to defend yourself. This is why I want all of us to be aware that there are three and that what's being reported about you. Now, most people at all three, they really want to know the score. So, of course, the higher, the better. I'm not telling you can't get stuff in this world, but I can guarantee you that if you have a better credit score, it'll cost you a lot less. So somebody will always give you a loan, but the rates or the rate might not be as favorable because you're higher risk with this score. And our society is kind of like made you transfix on this number. Like, what's your credit score? Like, that's not something we tend to want to ask right away with people, but we may say, is your credit good? I think I was sharing the story last time. Like, I asked my wife, I was like, how's your credit looking? I ain't about to put a ring on it if your credit ain't right. This ain't gonna work out, baby. I love you, but I love somebody more with better credit. And look, I'm telling you, y'all better start having these conversations with your significant other. Stop playing. I'm not playing. I made a really heavy investment into this ring, into getting married, and I'm expecting a child. Like, I think about long-term stuff, right? But we gotta start asking these questions. I know it's a little uncomfortable, but when it really hits the fan, I don't want you to be surprised that your significant other or spouse has got bad credit. You're supposed to be a team. So as I think about my team long-term, my team better be on point with credit. And I'm not shy to say that. Maybe you don't say that, ask the question on the first date, but look, if you're getting serious with anybody, I'm going to throw that out there right now. I'll give y'all some relationship advice. If you're getting serious with a person, you might want to talk about their credit. I'm just looking at the chat. So I've done a session on relationships and money, but here's the problem with it, right? The problem with these relationship talks with money, it just gets too heated. I'm not that great of a moderator or facilitator to manage what's going to happen when the emotions start to flare up, because that's what happens, right? It's these emotions that start, well, why you want to know all my business? I'm trying to marry you. I need to know a lot about you, and credit is, again, one of those touchy points. I'm telling y'all, look, y'all know people get divorced because of money issues. Y'all already know that, right? It's just talking about money causes people to feel some kind of way. Just talking about it. Like, somebody's on here right now and your significant other's not here. Just get off like, yo, how's your credit looking today? They can be like, what the hell are you asking me for? Like, they gonna get defensive. I'm telling you. They gonna bet money. I'll go to bat. Somebody should log on right when you log off tonight and you want to take a pause and be like, look, hey, how's your credit? Text them right now. What's your credit score? They're gonna be like, what do you want to know for? Like, they're gonna catch feelings. All right, I digress. I'm gonna get off this scoring thing. But we're so transfixed with this number. Society, marketing, all the credit bureau. This is why everybody signs up for like credit monitoring services. It's like we just have to know the number. I'll tell y'all a story about a client I had years ago. He was so transfixed on his score that he was paying for one of these credit monitoring services. I think it was like, I don't know, $12 a month. Maybe it was less than that. Not the point. The point is he was paying, which had me upset. And when I asked him, I said, why do you want to know this number? And let me give you some more background. He was not buying a house, wasn't buying a car, wasn't buying a boat, he wasn't doing anything in terms of needing to make a big purchase. But yet he said to me, I need to have the comfort of knowing my number. I looked at him in the face and I said, hey, look, man, I got an idea for you. I want you to stop paying this. I think it was Experian. I forget who it was. I said, I want you to stop paying them. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to start paying me $12.99 a month. And I'm going to send you a text message and say your score was up or down a couple of points. And he laughed. He said, what? I said, nah, for real. I want you to pay me $12.99 to tell you that nothing has changed except your score went up a couple points or it went down a couple of points. Because that's what they're doing. When you're doing these credit monitoring services, you're just paying for the satisfaction of knowing the number. Are you doing any real work to improve your credit? Are you about to make that big ticket purchase? Because I'm watching people just throw away hard-earned money. My bad, let me take it back. Well, Jasper, $12.99 or $7.99 or $4.99, it's not a big deal. And I'm like, you all, I guess, don't understand that if you are that transfixed on the number, there are millions of other people who are also transfixed on that number. So how do people make these millions of dollars? Charging a few dollars a month. I'll give y'all a more personal example, and somebody might get offended when I say this. Some of y'all can't live without Amazon Prime. Can't live without it. And God knows, back in the day, you just waited to get your package when it came. Let's rule out pandemic and supply chain. Let's just say back in the day, you ordered something and you waited. And now you can't live without 2-day or next day delivery. My God, how far have we gone in this world where you're paying Amazon 12? Is Prime, anybody can quote, is Prime still $12.99 after the introductory free or for? If somebody's a Prime user, please chime into the chat. Let me know if it's still $12.99. Because I think about it in the same vein as this score, where people are paying to know the score, but aren't really doing anything to improve like their credit situation. They just want to know. But like, I think about these subscriptions that people are paying, and I'm like, that's extra money you could be using to pay down debt. All right, I'm gonna get off my soapbox. And I'm sorry if thank you, Dorothy. It's up to $14.99. Oh, inflation, take it. $14.99. You need the package that soon? Y'all know there's still physical stores. You might, let me get off this Amazon soapbox. Anyway, look, the world has made you, marketers have made you feel like you have to know the score. And also I think too, you think about culture. Like we started making jokes about, do you know your partner's credit score? A lot of attention came on the score. Look, the higher, the better. That's all you need to know. Here's another example just to kind of show you some numbers where everybody can get this car in this image, this coupe with the colorful wheels. But the person on the left with this 580 gonna pay a lot more for that car versus the person with the 670. I was checking the chat. Frosted. I'm not. I understand. Y'all can look at the chat. So there are ways around certain things. All I'll say. I don't want to put you on blast. Maybe the internets are watching you. The algorithm might pick up that comment in the chat. But yeah, I'm hooked is the key piece, right? Can't live without it. But you used to live without 2-day delivery. Yeah, thank you for that comment, Sylvia. It could definitely help your relationship if you talk about this stuff and work on it together. It absolutely could absolutely help things out. Because if somebody's honest about, well, one, if somebody catches feelings when you ask, their credit jacked up. It's the funniest thing, right? Ask somebody how's their credit, and as soon as they get defensive, it ain't good. So you already got your answer with their response and getting emotional. Because if it's good, they're gonna tell you, oh, it's like in the low 7s. It's a high, it's in the upper 6s. But when it's real bad, they're just gonna catch feelings. And again, that's okay. That means I think we're so emotional around people knowing or finding you out. Channel that energy and emotion into actually working on your credit. How about that? That's the idea I want you all to think about. When it's not working out in your favor, that should be your wake-up call. Should be. But I know we're talking to human beings. You're going to do what you want to do when you're ready. So I got to respect that. But keep in mind this example when you're thinking about like why your credit score is important, because again, everybody can get this car, but some of us are going to pay a little bit less just to get it. So I'll leave it at that. So let's talk about this score. And I'm going to use FICO for the sake of this talk. There are other scoring models, but FICO still is the most popular. So that is the one that we'll talk about tonight. All right, so we got a couple factors, as you all see in the pie. And you all can see that there are two really big chunks: the amounts you owe and your payment history. We'll go around the whole story. I'll start with payment history, which is the biggest chunk. You paying bills on time? Are you late? And if you're late, how often? Tells a lot about your character. Can't trust somebody who's always late on their bill. Or I got to give you a lower score because of that. It's the biggest piece. Just pay it on time. Yeah, you might not be able to pay but the minimum, but at least that keeps you in good standing. That's all. Like, just pay it on time. You know, if you have to implement some strategy, like put it on auto pay. So no matter what happens in your life, you have the payment being made. And it takes it off your plate of having to think about it. So if you want to put some extra money down, you can do that. But at a minimum, you should have some automatic payment if you're struggling with paying things on time. And having a really good history is very beneficial because it helps you. I'll tell you a real life story. So I've had great credit since I started. And I was fortunate enough to have a very good teacher in my mom. My dad's good at it too, but my mom gave me the talk. So I was 19, I was in college, and I was getting all these offers. You know, somebody got caught up in that swag grab, get a credit card effort. It happens all the time. So I called my mom and I was like, hey, what am I supposed to do? And she made it so simple, y'all, that I think if everybody could have had that same 10-minute conversation with my mom, they would never have bad credit. Because she broke it down really easy. She was like, use the card, pay off the bill on time, rinse and repeat. It's like, that's it. Use the card, pay it off, rinse and repeat. She was like, don't, never spend more than your limit. But if you do, and this is one of those myths, it looks bad if you're quote unquote maxing out your card, but it only looks bad if you don't pay it all off. So maybe that's one of those myths you all might have heard, where it's bad to max out your credit card. It's not bad if you pay it off. It's only bad if that balance rolls over to the next month and gets hit with interest charges. So shout out to Esther for debunking that myth, because I was like, oh, maxing out your card is bad. That's what the world has told me. Yeah, it's bad if you don't make the payment in full. So I was like, cool. So she said, make a small purchase. So, my first limit was like $200. She was like, you should never even be close to $200. If you are, we're going to have a deeper talk about money management, which was last session. So I made a small purchase of food and I put gas in my car. That was it. 2 transactions. When I got the bill, paid it off. It was never over like $75. Rinse and repeat. That's how I learned credit. And she was like, paying stuff on time is going to help you. And so that kind of takes us over to that next one about amounts that you owe. My mom was like, never get close to that 200 number or 250, whatever your limits, try not to get too close. Because your score and this is going to impact how they look at you. Looking at your limits, how close are you to the limit? If you're not that close, that's good. And those are the biggest 2 factors, right? That's 65%. A lot of people just don't pay stuff on time, or they're too close to their limits. That makes up the bulk of your score. So I would never get close to my limits. Although my limits increased, getting an increased limit, just so y'all know, is a good thing. Just so y'all know, I'll debunk this one too. I've had clients who were like, oh, when they give me an increase, I call and lower it. What? It's a real thing. If you've done that, I would say, please stop. If somebody on here has done that, please stop. You always want to have access to more credit. And here's why. let's say, and this is helpful in boosting your score, which we'll talk about a little bit later. Imagine if you owed $10,000 and your limit is $15,000. You pretty close to those limits. But let's say you owe that same $10,000 and your limit is $100,000. Big difference, your score still looks great. You didn't pay off any more debt. You just gave yourself access to more credit. So I'm sure somebody's thinking, but Jasper, if they increase my limit, I might be, I might get that itch and want to go shopping. All right, cool. Just because they raise your limit doesn't mean you change your habits. Just getting more access to credit does not mean you change your habits. So my mom told me, when they get that increase, don't stop making those 2 small purchases and paying off the bill in full. So I got limits that were raised over the years. I kept it low. I kept it active. So I didn't have to worry about, getting too close to those limits. And if I did have a crazy month and got out of control, and I had an out of control big payment to make 30 days later. A credit card is an interest-free loan for 30 days. Just remember that. Credit cards are interest-free loans for 30 days. Let day 31 and that next billing cycle come around and you haven't made that payment. That's the only time that interest applies to you. So here's another, actually, this is a good, I want to give everybody a challenge. And if you are so inclined, I want you to, if you come to the session on Thursday, actually, you know what? I'm going to do this. I'll put my email in here because I want to do a real life case study to see, is the world on point? So I'm going to put my email address and you can email me the response you get. But here's responses from, I'll call this the credit card challenge. Responses from the credit card. Responses. Oh, make sure I get this type this out right. All right. So here's the challenge. Tell somebody you're about to go, or tell somebody you're shopping for a new credit card. And you ask them, what's the first thing I should consider in helping me to make that decision for that credit card? That's the question. So again, you frame it up as, hey, friend, I'm about to get a credit card. What should I look at that, first that should help me make this decision? 90+% of people, unless they are hip to the game and understand this game, will respond by saying, what's the APR? Or what's the interest rate? 90% of people respond like that. And when they say that, what it tells me, because again, I got to change the way y'all think, that already tells me you might go overspend on that credit card. So if y'all were listening to the story I told about my mom coaching me, educating me about credit, the interest rate doesn't apply if you pay off the bill in full. And when I say pay off the bill in full, you only owe like the statement balance on the credit card. So if you ever log in, it's statement balance, current balance. The statement balance is that number or dollar amount that you spent in that last 30-day cycle. That's what you owe. That's what you want to pay to avoid the interest charges. Current balance, maybe you're outside the cycle, so you owe some additional money, but only for that 30-day period. The statement balance is what you owe that helps you avoid interest. So if you have a current balance that's higher than what you owe for the previous 30 days, you still stay in good standing and you never are assessed an interest charge. So your challenge, go out here and tell somebody you're about to get a credit card. Send me an email and tell me what they say. I've tried this activity in rooms of all types of people, and I have never failed that the majority will raise their hand. I do if it's in person. Who thinks interest rate is the most important? Hands go up. I'll say interest rate. It's the weirdest. Nobody gave us the game the right way like my mom gave it to me, so therefore I'm giving it to you. The interest rate is irrelevant in this sense of credit cards if you never overspend and only use the card effectively and pay off what you owe in that 30-day window. Interest rates definitely apply when you think about a student loan, a car loan, a house, a boat, big ticket things that you're going to have for a long period of time. The interest rate absolutely matters. But for credit cards, absolutely not. The interest rate should not be the thing that people say. If they do, you tell them to email me. They need to come to this session or watch this recording because they are playing the game the wrong way, because they're already in the wrong, like in their mind, they're thinking about this the wrong way. Thank you. Somebody, that is a problem. Annual fees is one you should say. Maybe it's rewards. Maybe it's I want a credit union versus a bank. Give me something else. But they say interest rate first, fail. Fail. I have hurt some feelings with that challenge. And I never forget it. It was his brother. He was a PhD. And he argued this point with me for 10 minutes. Now, I don't know his whole financial background, but I don't think he was that great. I don't care that he had a PhD. He didn't have a PhD in money. He didn't have a PhD in credit because somebody done told him wrong. And I challenged him. I was like, you're not going to tell me this is how the game works. I read the documents. If I pay what I owe in this 30-day window, the interest rate never applies. So why is that the first thing that people say? Worry about that APR. That means you already going to carry your balance month over month and be assessed interest charges. But Jasper, the interest isn't that much. Rewind again. So that dollar and some change times millions of credit card holders is why every financial institution has millions and billions of dollars. So we keep saying it's not much to us, but I want y'all to just think big picture. There's a game being played. I have this experiment where one day I want to offer a credit card, but after I do this course and tell people how not to pay me extra money by way of being assessed an interest charge, and I already know people gonna fail and still pay me more money than I'm actually owed because life is gonna happen and they're gonna use that credit card. You know, so I want you all to think about this in totality. Like, I understand that when we're in a situation, maybe the interest charge should be your wake-up call to say, you know what, I got to do better so I can stop paying the bank and credit union more money than they're actually owed. We get mad when corporate CEOs get those big bonuses, right, during recessions and downturns in the market, but it's these interest charges. Like, I looked at some stat, I forget what bank it was. The interest alone produced some umpteen billions of dollars for the company, just interest charges. They sell a whole bunch of other products. I got to find what bank it was, but somebody did some investigating. They were like, did you know that this bank brought in billions of dollars just in interest? That's what paid everybody. They sell other product. They made so much money off of interest. All right, let me take a little breather. I got a little heated there. That interesting blow, it burns me up. But if anybody's willing to do that challenge, just send me an email and say, Jasper, you right. They said interest. If anybody says anything other than interest, they understand the game. But if they say interest, and they usually say interest, right? You say credit card, their mind totally goes right to interest. I've seen it happen too many times, and that's why we fail at credit, because we were not taught the way I was taught. And I got lucky, y'all. My mom gave me the game and gave it to me right. All right, y'all. So 15% is your credit history. A lot of people have done themselves a disservice by closing out an account with the longest history. It's only 15%, but you know, credit is about how long have you been in the game. And I do realize that depending on your age, you may have had a credit account like when you were younger and you don't use it. And sometimes just for like inactivity, they can close it out. It'll have a little bit of an impact on your score, but you know, hopefully it wasn't the one you had the longest. And if so, hopefully you have enough other positive things on your report that can help if that is what happened to you. I know sometimes when people are kind of in over their head in credit card debt, they want to start closing them out just because they've paid them off. I understand the rationale behind that, but keep them open. And when I say keeping it active, make one purchase and then put the card away for 6 months. You know, it's happened to me. You know, I got that letter that said, hey, we're closing out your account due to inactivity. You know, hit my credit score slightly. And so I had other cards, but I said, you know what, I can avoid this because I can keep it active. So let me make one purchase. And I literally made one purchase. I will put the card away for 6 months or even a year until I get another notice. We noticed you haven't used your card. I go use the card again, one time, put it back up. That keeps it active. Keep stuff open. If you have to close it, I understand. But just know it might impact your score if you're like, hey, I paid off all this debt and closed them out. Why did my score go down? Or why didn't it go up as much as I thought? Well, that 15% might have hit you pretty hard. Go ahead, Charles. I see your hand. Go ahead.
I can testify again. That's exactly what happened to me. I had 6 credit cards, and in my quest to try to, minimize my debt and pay things off, I did not remember that you covered that last year. And so out of the 6, I only kept one, and I closed each and every one of them. And my credit score dropped below 700, where I had finally made it back to the 700, and it dropped because of that. It's back up now, but it took me some work to get it back up again. I was floored. I had no idea. I'm thinking, okay, I finally paid off all that debt, and my score is going to jump high now because I don't have that debt. And it had the adverse reaction. So yeah, you're 100% right on that. But I did want to also ask a quick question. So the remaining credit card that I have is 50% of my total available credit in terms of the balance. So what is the rule of thumb there? Is there a certain percentage it's supposed to be lower than or whatever, so that your credit score goes up higher? Because I cannot afford to pay it off.
So Charla, thank you again you must be reading my mind, because that's another myth I'm going to go ahead and debunk. So to answer your question, the rule of thumb is you want to be within this 30% range, right? So across the board, however many, credit cards, or when you think about your overall picture, am I maintaining kind of this 30% or below in terms of my utilization? Now, I've gotten to arguments about this, but here's why this doesn't make sense. So if I carry, and I've heard people say that if I carry a little bit of a balance, but it's a low balance, and I'm carrying it over month, I'm being assessed interest charges. So unless there's some good reason as to why you can't take this down to zero, and I understand people are rebuilding, building, getting themselves out of a situation. I get that. But if you're past that point, why is having a balance? I don't understand how that makes sense. So what you're telling me that if you believe in this 30% rule, which a lot of people do, I'm like, so you're going to carry a balance month over month that you could have paid off, but instead you're paying the bank a few extra dollars. How is that good for you? It isn't, y'all. Banks and credit unions hate people who are, I'll call them fiscally responsible, who pay off their credit cards on time. They hate them. They don't make money off of those people. Banks and credit unions don't make money off of me because I pay off my bills on time. I use credit cards all day long, but I pay off the bill every time I get my statement. So that 30% rule is another one of those myths that I want to debunk, because people still believe that. Now, if you were listening, I said keeping the card active is a good thing. Using it, paying the bill off. But leaving a balance of 30% because you think that's going to help your score, again, why are you paying the bank or credit union extra money when you don't have to? And nobody can ever give me an answer to that. So please tell everybody who believes that 30% rule. Again, they're going to say, well, you need to be showing activity. So yeah, you can be active and use your card. Like I use my card. I just don't carry a balance month over month. That's the trick, y'all. Be active. Be active. That's the key. But rolling over a balance month over month, if you could have paid it off, makes 0 sense. And Sylvia, thank you for this point, because I was going to make this point too. So here's why I get upset with credit card debt. It's because of the interest rate. And Sylvia, I'm going to come to this point about strategies, I think in a slide or two. But here's my issue is that you all will say to me, well, Jasper, I want to invest. I want to do all this other stuff, but I got this credit card debt, and I get it. And so I'll say to you is, Well, if your variable rate on this credit card is 18 to 24%, are your investments producing those returns? Because if not, I need you to focus on getting rid of this debt. It's eating you up. It's eating you alive. Like, it's eating you alive. Think about that, y'all. Credit card interest rates, look at the statements, look at the privacy. The rate, it varies from usually like 18 to 24. So unless your investments are producing those type of returns, I suggest you focus really on this debt piece. I want people to invest and save and do retirement and all this other stuff that I love for you to do. But when the time is right, and if this is your like one thing, like if credit is the piece that's just eating you up, let's just get to work and focus. Maybe we do minimum payments on one and focus on, I mean, we got to figure out what's the strategy, because we don't think about this in a logical manner because we're not actually ever trained on it. Do y'all realize that? We're never trained on money. You need a driver's license to drive a car. You don't have a license to deal with your money. You don't have to take classes. You only get to take classes if you attend something like this, or if you go to a webinar or workshop somewhere else. But you don't have to have a license. They just give you a card. They're not asking you, are you responsible? Do you understand the terms of this agreement? They don't ask those questions. These don't come, money does not come with instructions. It doesn't. So when you're like, I can't figure out why I can't do this, well, nobody instructed you. So don't beat yourself. Look, every session I'm gonna bring this up. Give yourself some grace, please. If y'all didn't have that conversation like I had with my mom when I was 19, maybe your credit ain't solid. Or maybe you went through enough bad stuff with your credit that you were like, this ain't right. And then you turned it around. At some point, it starts to click. I just got lucky, y'all. Straight up, I got lucky that my mom gave me the game. And it worked. And I share that story and share some of these things to debunk these ridiculous myths that still have us paying more money than we should, not focusing on the right things to do, to Charlotte's response, closing out stuff. Nobody told her because you did the right thing. You paid off a debt and you got rid of it. So emotionally, you felt better. I told you, I got to change what you think and feel. You were thinking right, but those emotions overpowered this. You didn't. Some people don't even know. Some people do not even know this information, y'all. Let me pause for a second. I saw a little action here in the chat. Let me see. Sylvia, I got your question about, looks like you have varying interest rates. So if I missed that, I'll come back to it, but I'll address that, I think in a slide or two around like strategies on improvement. So I'll come back to that.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead, Joan.
For those of us like Charla who were in that situation where we have credit that goes over month to month, would it be wiser, based on what you said, to use savings to pay that off so that it won't go month to month because Absolutely. Of the interest rate?
I would. And I would say, if I don't completely exhaust my savings, I would take a big chunk. Because, Joan, to your point, I think people are so afraid of not having anything in savings, and so they may not want to make that commitment. But as long as you still owe the debt, you're going to keep having to throw your money towards it. So you might as well just do it now. But some people aren't willing to make that commitment. And I've actually lived this, Joan, so I want to thank you for sharing that, because I've seen this happen with a client. Had all this money in savings and had like a little bit of debt. And I was like, hey, just pay it all off. And she said, is that a good thing to do? I was like, you like owing people money? I mean, Joan, that's what we're talking about. You're going to pay. So you can take the rest of your life and pay these people off and get hit with interest charges every month. Or you can say, you know what, let me go ahead and wipe. Done. I swear to y'all, when I was paying off debt aggressively, I would get a bonus check, the whole check. Well, I'll take that back. I blew some of the money. The rest of it I just paid off debt. I told myself, I'm going to go spend X amount of this bonus check after taxes. And then whatever else, it went right to debt. And when I clicked that button, just the relief. Debt got some of y'all in a bad mood every day. You wake up, or every paycheck, every month, you're like, I still owe these people. My God, I am so sick of making these payments. What's crazy about debt is most of us know exactly how much to the cent that we're paying every month. Somebody's got a car loan right now. And if I ask you how much is it, I bet whatever number you post is probably close to the cent or right on it. And I've tried this in a real life setting where people, when money's leaving our pockets, we know how much is leaving. So if I can pay off debt, and I'm talking like credit cards specifically, but bigger ticket items, we pay those in the long term. But it's these credit cards that are eating us up, literally eating us alive. So Joan, if I have the money, I'm paying off the debt and I ain't thinking twice, because now I got one less person I got to deal with. And now all that money I was paying to my bank or lender or credit union is coming back to me. So I can rebuild my savings because now I actually got the money. But nobody explains it in that manner. I'm not really sure. What's the alternative? Keep letting this person nickel and dime you and you only owe 10,000, but you end up paying 5,000 more. How was that a good deal for you? That's some real talk that I try not to yell and raise my voice, Joe, when I say that to them. I'm like, why are you, what? Tell me how this makes sense. And they're like, well, Jasper, you're mean. God, I should just be taking your money because you clearly just, what are you not? They are taking your money that could be going to your savings, your kids. I mean, I can go down the list of all the other stuff your money should be going to, but not paying back this debt if I can get rid of it quicker. So be aggressive. I got clients who want to talk investments. And once I find that they have all this debt, I'm like, I ain't talking investments no more with you. I don't care what, nope. Or I'm not going to work with you because I can't let you skip this critical step of just understanding your situation and actually working it. You got to work this. Get rid of this credit card debt. Other stuff, I'll give you a pass. And is it Al Marie? I think, did I say it correctly? If not, my apologies, but go ahead and yeah, what you got? Go ahead. You're on mute. Yep, unmuted.
I'm unmuted. Sorry. I was wondering about paying off, like if you have multiple credit card debt, is it better to pay it off all at one time or should you do like one at a time?
What's your purpose for, if you can afford to pay them all off, why would you
Like
wait?
your score, it doesn't impact your score in a negative or a good way if you're paying it all off at once?
That I don't know, but here's what I do know. You're going to feel better when you pay off all your creditors. So why would you wait? The ultimate goal is to pay them all off at some point in life, right?
Okay.
Why would I wait and hold the balance and get hit with interest charges?
Okay. That makes sense.
Thank you. That's all. I ain't got nothing. Just if it doesn't, let's have another conversation. But if I already owe the money, what am I waiting for? Why are we so afraid to pay people back? And I'm not picking on you, but isn't that weird that we are so afraid to pay people back, especially when I find people with the money? You like paying somebody else? I like to put myself first when I think about my money.
I just thought it would have a negative impact. I could be wrong, but just to pay them all off at once, like, yeah, okay.
Think about this. No, this is good. This is real life stuff that it ain't just you. It is millions of people question why they should just pay people back. Think about this. If my credit limit, let me give you an example. My credit limit is 15,000, let's say across the board, and my credit cards are 14. And I'm like, I'm just gonna pay one of them off, and now I go to 12. All right, I'm gonna wait a couple months, pay another one off, I'm gonna go to 10. Why don't you just pay them all off, and then you have total utilization of 15,000, you have no balance. And then you get back on keeping it active, so you keep your score vibrant by being active. Paying off the debt is a very good thing. If anybody tells you otherwise, they somehow are taking more money from you than they should.
Okay.
And if anybody else feels that way, just think about the game that's being played. I got people so afraid to pay me back that they will keep paying me $1.25. I mean, I would love $1.25 from what is 32 other people on here. I would love $1.25 from all of y'all for not paying off a debt that I know you can pay off today. I would love you for life. I would say, don't pay me off in full. I would make up any story to keep getting your 125 from 32 other people. This, my friends, my family, I love y'all. This is how the game works. We can't substantiate these feelings. Think. These are emotional reasons as to why we have savings and have debt and won't pay off the debt. I'm gonna quiet it down. My wife's in another room. This happened with my wife, y'all. I told y'all a wife story last time. Same dilemma. It's a real story. I got to whisper. She in another room. But look, she got a lot of savings. She's a great saver. And she had a very small debt. And she was like, I'm so sick of this like credit card bill and blah, blah, blah. And when I found out, because again, we got married, so we talk money. I was like, how much you got in savings? I almost lost it. I think I had a heart attack, a stroke, died and came back in my body because I was like, how, like, all I'm gonna say this, y'all, savings is up here. The debt was right here. And my wife was just making like a little over the minimum payments. And I was like, you cannot stay married to me doing this nonsense. This relationship ain't gonna work. And I was dead serious. I looked at her and I said, if you don't make a payment today, I'm just gonna be upset with you every night I go to sleep. Every time you look at me, I'm gonna be thinking about this credit card nonsense. It's a real story, y'all. Let me tell you what happened. It took my wife 6 months to make that payment. 6 months. I'm not telling y'all this stuff for fun and for reviews. And I deal with this too in my own house. It took me 6 months. I was like, baby, if you love me, how about you pay me that $125 a month because you keep giving it to the bank. You love them that much. What have they done for you lately? All right, I'm gonna get off my soapbox. Y'all done got me. I'm so heated up. Let me take a little sip of this tea because this is credit. I'm telling y'all the stuff that people tell me about credit. I'm like, yo, what happened? Well, here's what happened. Nobody was told this information. So I'll take it back. Nobody was telling you why or how this game works. And so we make these decisions and nobody ever told you it wasn't the right decision or didn't explain it in a way that made sense to you. So I hope, hopefully through all of my this tirade that I'm on, just credit isn't that hard, y'all. But if we understand these pieces, we can use this stuff to our advantage and actually help our community out. When people owe money and they got money in their account, tell them to pay it off today. Stop waiting for this perfect day. Whatever theory they come up with, tell them it's nonsense. Why does it make sense to owe somebody money? And they will say, I don't know. And then you say, that's why you make that payment. Whew. All right. All right, let me, I'm in here sweating. My God. All right, so I'm gonna try to scroll through the chat really quick here to see. I might have answered a few of these.
Next slide.
Yeah. All right, so we're good. Great resource here. Go check out this site. So I send everybody here. I don't care about the score, y'all. Here's why. I want to know what's on your report. That's what I want to know. So annualcreditreport.com. I think I got it pulled up, or if I don't, I think I got it. This is what it looks like. So pre-pandemic, excuse me, you could go and get one free report from all the bureaus, all three, once every 12 months. The pandemic hit, then they started doing it monthly. And now, as you see here on the screen, you can do it weekly. Now, I think weekly is a little excessive, but if I look at your score, it's not hard to see about where your score, if you look at your report, it's easy for me to figure out where your score might fall. Because any credit report, and this is why this site is important, it's free. I get all three. Take your time, click through, you can get all three reports. You do not get the score, but here's the key. Go through each report and take your time and make notes. Why? The biggest errors on credit reports are misspelled names, bad phone numbers, and bad addresses. Basic information. I've had reports that I'm like, that's not my middle name. I disputed it, got it removed. There have been phone numbers that I've never had, not work numbers, not personal numbers. I don't want that stuff following me. Because again, I don't need a surprise when somebody says, hey, do you have this phone number that's tied to some illegal something? I don't have time for that. I need you to be so proactive that you know what's being reported about you before you go apply for something. People go out here and apply for stuff and get declined. They're like, well, what did they find? Go to this site, please. Go see what's being reported about you first. And then just get, and maybe you work on one report and just focus on that one. Maybe you focus on all three at the same time, but you got to just get the information that's being spread about you. The world is judging you, and this is your way to defend yourself by getting ahead of it. So please check out annualcreditreport.com, get your free report, get to work. All right, so how to improve your score. Here's the easiest option, just pay them. I got people who they'll have a collection account for like $70. And let me tell y'all the worst offender. Y'all gonna laugh at this, but this is my life. I did some real serious credit counseling for a couple of years. And one of the biggest offenders of collection accounts was from AT&T and Comcast. And it was because people would not return the cable box when they moved. I swear to y'all, I can't make this up. And collection account, which is a negative item, would be for like $70. And I'm like, you got this blemish on your report because you didn't go take the your score. Get rid of the negative stuff while you're still doing the positive stuff. Here's another thing. People have told me, well, I paid off all my collection accounts, but my score didn't go up. The collection accounts are more of a blemish. It doesn't look good, but it's the activity that helps your score increase. So it drags a little bit, but if you paid off all your collections, your score debt will boost your score. Well, it might not have that much of an impact if it's a collection account. Now, if it's a current account and you're becoming current, well, that helps you because that's, okay, they have more credit utilization because they've paid off this debt. So the easiest way, just pay them. Now, if you're like, Jasper, got a little sizable, balance, maybe you can settle. This is all about you having some money to pay and seeing if they'll take your best offer. Call them if you want to and say, look, I can't pay y'all this $1,000, but I'll give you $250. Will you take it? They may say yes, and they may say no. They may even want to set up a payment plan. And I'll say, aside from the IRS, unless you owe back taxes or something, I don't like payment plans with collection companies. That's a personal thing for me. But if you have to do a payment plan with a collection agency, 3 payments. If you can't knock it out in 3, don't do it. And if you're going to make a settlement or any payment arrangement with the creditor or a collector, do not send them your credit card information or debit card. Please do not. Don't say, here's my card, charge it. There needs to be some other portal that's secure that you can enter your information for a one-time payment. Or if you want to go old school, which I sometimes prefer dealing with collection agencies who are not all created equally, I would send them a money order or a cashier's check. I'm not giving you my card to perhaps maybe you withdraw 10 more cents than what I owe. I'm not saying they nickel and dime you, but you might get nickel and dime, so stay in control of the payment. If you're making payments of any sort, get everything in writing. If I'm going to pay you this $250 to settle this debt for less than the full amount, I need it to be removed from all of my credit reports, all of them. And you got to say all because every collection agency does not deal with all 3 of the bureaus. Again, from personal experience, there was a medical billing organization that they only dealt with Experian. And I saw it many times. The same company only showed up on Experian. So when you're looking at a Credit Karma, you're like, oh, I got Equifax and TransUnion. Was it going to show up there? Again, you're missing all the pieces of the puzzle. But it showed up on Experian. So you want to be very clear when you're making a payment to a collection agency. Now, fingers crossed, and this is one of those gray areas, you hope that they comply with your agreement. So if I make payment, you remove these from my reports, because some may just post it as paid less than full amount. Still a blemish. I want to ask for that deletion. I've paid y'all off. Y'all have done enough on making me look bad on this report. I really need this to be removed. Like, you got to ask. They might not always comply. So if you do have that kind of notation that you've paid less than full amount. It'll stay on your report for a little while, but at least you don't owe a balance. Okay, so settling can be a good thing, but make sure you have the money before you try to go and negotiate settlement terms. Just have the money first. Along this line too, when we're dealing with like collection and negative accounts, people like to ask, well, what about this 7-year rule? And here's what I say to that. Good luck. I hope it works out. Some people would just wait, you wait it out. And after 7 years, if they haven't, verified you in any way, the record is supposed to be deleted and removed. And so what I found is, and what y'all may understand, is that collection agencies, just like your original creditor, just sells your information to the next person. So it may fall off of one report. This new collection agency got your account, and then they might start reporting it years later. It happens. So again, understanding that you can go look at your reports consistently. This is how you stay ahead of stuff. So if you know that it should have been removed, well, can you prove that it should have been removed? Because if not, they're gonna hold you to it. But if it got missing, you gotta have, if y'all haven't noticed this, you gotta have a lot of proof. Like when you're fighting for your credit and you're making payments and trying to do the right thing, what can you prove in a court of law is where I want your mind to go. Just somebody on the phone, just because they say they're gonna help you and it's gonna work out, I can't take that to court. I need an email with documentation. I need receipts if I make payments. That's how far you got to go if you want to get your credit on point. So settling could be an option. Here's the third one. Now, this is I call it you trying to get away with something option. There was a guy, I had done this credit course. We talked about that 7-year rule. He wanted to, he was like, well, if you dispute certain things and they can't verify that it's you, and don't ask why, don't know how they find you, but I should assume they have their ways. If you dispute a collection account and they can't prove it's you, it has to get removed. And so if you dispute something at one credit bureau and it gets removed, all you have to do is send that letter, which they'll send you, to the other two and say, y'all should also remove this from my report because I do not owe it. They could not verify it. That's the law. Now, disputing also opens you up. So on the one side, it could help maybe relieve you of some of these bad accounts, but also it opens you back up because now they're going to be alerted that you are alive and they're going to verify you somehow, some way. So it could help if you're like, let's say you've fallen on hard times, which this gentleman I'll tell you about, he had fallen on hard times. He didn't have a job at the time. He was just like trying to start rebuilding his life. And so he had 13 collection accounts. And if anybody has done any type of credit repair type of work, sometimes they'll say, don't dispute too much, don't send letters too much, like do it in waves. I said, screw all of that. We're going to dispute all 13 of these accounts. Now, luckily for him, the accounts were a lot older. So I had a good feeling that they're not going to be able to know that they're not going to know it's him. They're not going to be able to verify him. So we disputed all of them at one credit bureau. Took us about a month. It takes about a month, maybe 45 days to get a response. They send a letter back. We got 10 of his accounts got deleted because they couldn't verify him. Now, he still owed 3. And here's the funny part about this story. This guy was so honest with me. He was like, Jasper, I heard what you said in the class. I owe all 13 of those. Like, he didn't even lie to me. But when it came to disputing, you don't have to provide a reason. You can just say it's not my account, wrong. I mean, it's basic stuff you have to do, which you can also do via annualcreditreport.com. You can dispute it right from the online platform. So this gentleman got a lot of relief emotionally because instead of having to deal with 13, he only had 3. Disputing doesn't always work, y'all. But if you have debts that are, I've had more success with the debt is 2 years or older. I've had quite a bit of success disputing. Sometimes I haven't, but let me try to see if I can get away with this. It's a good option, especially if you're trying to really improve and turn things around. You just need that relief. So disputing could be an option that can help, improve your score, improve your overall report. And you just want to kind of think it through, like, should I just pay him? Do I may want to try to negotiate and settle if I can't pay, but I probably should pay? Or do I flat out want to say, you know what, I'm just going to dispute all of it and see if it sticks. And the worst thing that can happen if you dispute and it comes back, you're not in any different position. You already knew you owed the money. So there's no real difference of, well, we just try to see if it'll work out. If it does, great. If not, we're still in the same spot. So keep that in mind as you think about, how you handle different types of debts. So I wanted to share a couple of things that we kind of wrap up here around, like if you're starting or you're trying to rebuild, and keep in mind that there is this, how much bad versus how much good do you have on your report. As long as the good is outweighing the bad substantially, your scores are going to constantly go up while you're continuing to work on it. But the credit builder loan is a great option for people who are like, I can't get approved for a credit card. I don't trust myself with plastic. Credit builder loans were set up as a way to report the activity of you making payments. So here's how it works. A normal loan, you apply, you get the money, you start making payments. A credit builder loan, you apply, you don't get any money, you just start making payments. So in one of them that I love, you make payments for a year. I think as low as one of them was like $25 a month. But the $25 is reported to each of the 3 bureaus. So you'll go a whole 12 months of getting positive activity at $25 a month. And then at the end of the year, all those payments essentially will add up into what they'll say, like, is your payment at the end, which you typically can, like, use to save, or you can go spend it. But your reward is you made these payments to produce the activity. And so I had a gentleman who just had a bad experience with credit cards and never wanted to touch plastic again. So he would just stack different credit builder loan type of products. There's some online, there's some credit unions. They're everywhere, but they're a way to help people kind of start or just even rebuild, where you're like, I can't get approved for a credit card. You don't have to. Do a credit builder loan and start that way. And there's some other programs too. I think they're trying to change some of this, where you can like use your rent payments or utility bills as a way to show that you're responsible and disciplined and making on-time payments. I'm not so familiar with those, which is why I didn't add them here. But there are some great options out there in terms of the credit builder loan. Thank you, Medina. Yeah, there are some ones out there that can really help you kind of just rebuild or enhance what you're already doing. So next up is a secured credit card. These are, these are the test credit cards, where there's usually some minimum level or dollar amount you have to put up first. And then that's kind of your commitment that if you get into trouble, the bank can kind of make a payment because you put some money up front. But again, it's still kind of, they're testing you out to see, can you use the card effectively, make payments? And then typically at the end of the period of the credit card, you usually get that deposit back. And then they may switch you to an unsecured credit card and raise your limit. Great starting option. Or if I just, again, need to rebuild, great option. One that a lot of people don't talk about is the authorized user. And this isn't like co-signing for somebody. This is like you riding somebody else's coattail. And I'll give y'all an example. So I've done a lot of good stuff for my family, and it's really because I'm leveraging my great credit to help them. So I had a cousin who's in Maryland who, she didn't have a high enough credit limit. And so I added her as an authorized user to give her a credit bump, just so I could raise her score. And she's been saving and paying things down because she wants to get a house. It's been about 6 months to a year, but I helped her out by just adding her as an authorized user. I did not physically give her a credit card. I stayed in control of the entire relationship, but I allowed her to use or leverage my good, limit to help increase her very own. Now, of course, I got to remove her once I think she's close to getting the house. I'll take her off, but she'll still get the better interest rate because she's been working on improving her credit. I gave her a higher limit. And so when she gets that interest rate locked in, I can remove her. Now her credit, her score may take a little dip, but she accomplished her goal of getting a house at a more favorable interest rate. So if you got that responsible family member, friend who's willing to help you out, this is a great option that many people don't even think about. So I did it for my cousin. I'm doing it for my brother right now. They're looking, him and my sister-in-law are looking for another house. And so I added him to all my other credit cards. So I increased his credit limit substantially. He still owes money, but I just raised his credit limit, which will improve his score. He didn't make any additional payments. I just raised the limit. So you got to think about this in total. I owe money, but if I could extend the limits, and this is why I say you shouldn't decline limits when you get them, because that's what happens, y'all. I'm helping my brother, but he has not changed his debt repayment strategy. But I'm lending him a helping hand so they get this next house, and then I'm gonna remove them. Yeah, great. That's doing it for my daughter. Yeah. Gail's hip to this game too. Yeah, you can do it. I do it for kids. My niece is 7. She's on one of my credit cards as an authorized user. You know, my nephew, not even 2. He's on my card as an authorized user because I'm starting them off early. My niece and nephew about to have A1 credit from day one. And then when my child's born next month, that kid's getting added too. So by the time they are 18 and need to apply for, I'm not gonna say a loan because they're not gonna need it, but if they need a business loan, if they need a car, like they will get approved. Or even they just want to get their first credit card, they will have substantial amount of history and they didn't even, well, they're gonna know what I'm gonna tell them. But that is how we can get creative in terms of how we can actually improve our score and sometimes do very little. So if you're really like, man, I just don't have the extra money, Jasper, to make, you know, aggressive payments, find that responsible person in your family and just say, look, if you could do me a solid while I'm working on cleaning up my credit, if you could just add me to one of your credit cards and ask them about the limits. Because if they got a $50,000 limit and they add you on, your credit limit goes up $50,000. So if you still are just hovering around that, like I owe 10,000, but my limit is 15, you going from a 15 to a 50, that 10,000 looks very, very small, a lot smaller. Sharice, you can go right online, and as long as you got their social, that's what you can. I do it right online, Sharice. I go right to the online banking platform and add authorized user, done. They mail me the card. My niece and nephew will never get this card until I feel like they have gone through a proper education. And I'm gonna test it out when they're young and start like, you know, going out. I'm gonna say, use this credit card and pay it off. And I'm gonna teach them. So before they get their own, I will have trained these kids and my own. I'm also doing this authorized user for another friend and her 3 kids. But it's a simple app. You got a social, you know, I use my own address, my phone number, because they're kids. They mail a card in 7 to 10 business days. I've been working on building credit for my niece and nephew for a couple of, you know, my nephew almost 2 years, my niece close to 5. But if you need some help, find somebody responsible around you and just ask. You never know, somebody might say, if they say this seems a little fishy, you tell them to call me and say, you're wrong. This is a legitimate way that wealthy people have been helping their kids have great credit from day one. This is something I'm doing for my niece and nephew and my unborn child. I just do it. I've helped my cousin get her house, or she's about to get her house. Think about how we can leverage our community, y'all. There's somebody you know with great credit that could potentially help you. So while you're still trying to figure out payments and, you know, Sylvia, I almost forgot, but you asked about interest rates. Here's my take on the interest rates, and I'm glad you popped into the chat. I think that was the last slide. So here's the deal of like trying to decipher which debt you should focus on. So the one is called the debt avalanche, where you focus on the debt with the highest interest rate. And you work that one first and get aggressive on that one, pay that one down. And then there's the debt snowball, where you go and focus on the smallest balance and work your way up. So as the smaller balance gets paid off, you take all those payments, add it to the next one. When the second one's paid off, you take all those payments, add it to the third one. Now, mathematically, you might say, well, the interest rate thing makes more sense because I'm being charged more. But y'all forget about the emotional piece. When you owe 5 credit cards and you pay off one, you just feel better. So if your highest interest rate is also your highest balance, you're going to feel some kind of way. It's going to take you a while. So I would say think it through, because it might make sense if you have smaller debts that you can pay off. I like the debt snowball technique where you focus on the smallest and work your way up, just because money's so emotional. Here's the cool thing, y'all. No matter which option you choose, you're right. No matter which option, debt avalanche, you're right, or debt snowball, you're right. And the reason you are right is because you made a decision to attack your debt with some strategy. So Sylvia, hopefully, thank you. I hope that answers your question about which credit card or which interest rate should you focus on. I think you listed if it's 24% interest rate and that's also the highest balance, that's going to be a tough one, because if you got that lower one with 8 3/4, if that balance is smaller, I just want to knock out that smaller one, because knocking out those smaller debts might motivate you to work on the next one. Because when we start at the top with the highest balance and highest interest rate, you just get discouraged. It's like the person who's trying to pay off the student loan when you got, maybe 50,000 on the student loan, but you owe 5,000 or 2,000 on the credit card. You're going to have that student loan for a while. So shift your focus. You're going to have student, make the minimums. And if they're federal, fingers crossed, your uncle, Grandpa Joe is going to figure it out. But we don't know with federal loans. But in the meantime, focus on the credit cards. The credit cards is what I want people to focus on. So then if you have a mortgage, a car, student loan, okay, now I got some big tickets. So if I only have credit cards that I'm keeping active, and then I have like a car loan, now I'm gonna start picking on the car loan. Because typically car loans, mortgages, student loans, the interest rates are relatively low. So now we're just playing the balance game. Generally speaking, those interest rates are a lot lower. Student loans are usually lower than any of them. So start to analyze the entire situation, and then you'll know how to attack. See, the key about this whole credit game is figure out the strategy, and then you execute. And give yourself some grace and time, because it takes time when you're dealing with credit. When you're disputing stuff, it takes a month for them to do an update. So you got time. I had a client once, she was like, dispute this, and then for the next month, we're just gonna work on you saving and working on your budget until we get a report back from the credit bureau. So I got her to just shift her thinking for 30 days or 45. Like I gotta get you to focus on one thing at a time. So if we gotta make a move, leave it over there. We make another move, and we wait to get a report on that first move, and then we reassess. See, we get so caught up in doing everything at one time, we got to slow it down. And that's why I say print out those reports and you just go through each one. And when I used to do this for my clients, I still do it for some. I'm like, look, it's going to cost me to go through all these reports with you, but let's go through them. And I start right at the top. Name, all these names good, all these, and just take your time. Y'all don't need, people don't need to pay me for some of this stuff. I don't think you need to be paying credit repair companies thousands of dollars. They're not doing nothing. Y'all paying these people and, I get all this extra help. They ain't helping you out. They're just taking your money. Man, pay me $99 a month to do nothing. Let me give you an update in 30. Pay me $99. I'll call you in 30 days with an update. They still deliberating. I'll come back at you. I'm gonna send another letter.